We've got one.
You, my friend, just witnessed gaming's canon event take place. In this capitalist-defined world, video games and the things you need to play them cost money. And unless you have a horde of Indonesian child slaves in your basement creating cocaine to sell like me, you probably don't have a lot of money to waste. So you need to decide with your little noggin on what you should purchase. And with video games, publishers need to make every game they make special to incentivize money. You can't just make every single video game you make the same over and over and over again, because no one's gonna buy them. And what do you do to make games stand out? They have gimmicks, of course. Oh no. I've said the forbidden word. Now every gamer in a 300-mile radius is after me! Yes, gimmicks are a bit of a controversial topic in the gaming sphere, but technically every single game that has ever existed has a gimmick. From Mario's to your GTAs to your Zeldas and... oh yeah, I forgot, I discuss this blue fuck for a living. Sonic has had a vast and colored assortment of gimmicks since his existence in '91. His speed, his friends, the woke mob virus.
Where this all comes, Western activists, localization departments, every time, I swear.
Truly, Sega has no limits, and today I'll run through each and every one of them, from the overlapping to the specific. So cover your ears in both shame and fear as we discuss Sonic gimmicks. We're discussing this in chronological order and with mainline entries only, so let's begin at Nostalgia Town, Sega's favorite destination spot, the classics. And surprisingly, there's not really a lot to discuss here. There aren't really any notable gimmicks in the trilogy, and there's a tumor. But first, let's begin with the most important gimmick Sonic's ever had, the thing that made him stand out in the first place, his speed. If you've been living under a rock for 33 years, in which case, hi, my name's Hipster, I wonder why you're watching my video instead of, going to school. Sonic's entire thing is that he's a speedy little boy, which immediately separated him from Mario and the other chumps in the gaming industry. How he achieves that speed isn't important now, just know that's what made him the icon he is today. But besides that, the only main gimmick we see besides you is the beginning of the biggest and most defined gimmick of the entire Sonic series. Multiple playable characters. Yes, the most controversial aspect of Sonic by a country mile, and the bane of your 2010 IGN reviewers' entire career. The seemingly endless expansion of characters in the Sonic series has been a topic of debate for decades, and a common topic I'll discuss in this video. There are a lot of approaches to having multiple playable characters, but for the sake of brevity, I'll relegate them to 3 different methods Sega has used throughout the series. The first method is cloning. Just take Sonic's moveset, slap a new skin on it, and call it a day. The second is making a new character very similar to Sonic, but giving them different moves or features that make them different. And the third method is, oh god, what the fuck is this? Characters that have completely different gameplay style that is completely different to Sonic's. In relation to the classics, we have the second method with iconic buddies Tails the Fox and Knuckles the Echidna. Tails in his debut game was a mere clone of Sonic, but from Sonic 3 and upwards, he had the ability of flight. Press and tap the jump button to ascend to the air with your buttcopter, pretty much cheesing the game, acting as the easy mode. With Knuckles, though, he has a very similar ability of gliding. Press, tap, and hold the jump button to keep yourself gliding through the air until you reach the ground. Along with that, he can climb walls and break through objects Sonic and Tails can't. Both of these characters outside that share the exact same functionality as Sonic, with the same moves and general feel, making this, in my personal opinion, the best way to include other characters in Sonic games. But now, since we've discussed the playable characters of the classics, we now get into game-specific gimmicks, and the first one up is... oh god, not Sonic CD. Sonic CD, the series' potential man. A great idea ending up as one big disappointing mess. But we're not here to review it, we're here to discuss its centralized gimmick, being time travel. You see, when you pass a time travel checkpoint, you need to build and maintain your speed until you manage to travel back or forward in time. Once done, you have 3 slightly altered versions of the level, one being in the past and the other being in the good or bad future of a stage. In concept this sounds cool, but in practice it's just alright. Keeping your speed to travel through time is a great idea, but the issue arises when you are interrupted by this game's awful level design. So it's a trial and error process most of the time to even get the chance to time travel. And you wouldn't want to travel half the time anyway, considering going to the future is completely pointless. Only traveling to the past changes your playthrough, considering you need to destroy the generators. Cool idea, middling execution. But now, we leave the early 90s behind and enter the 3D age as we discuss the adventure games. And the thing with the adventure games is that they pretty much have the same gimmick, just handled differently. You see, these two games had one centralized goal: be grander than anything that came before, and that involved adding a lot of stuff. Epic stories, adding more characters with different playstyles, have spectacle never seen before. In short, these games' main overall gimmick was to have everything. And so what did they have to their name? First off, more characters. Each game had 6, but both used different methods for them. In SA1, each character had a different moveset. Sonic's the same as ever, Tails and Knuckles keep their traits from the classics, but we have 3 newcomers. First off, Amy Rose makes her playable debut, specializing in floaty acrobatics where the goal was to avoid a robot named Zero. The only problem with these levels is that Amy is painfully slow, and Zero is quite literally no threat. Secondly, we have E102 Gamma, his levels being shoot 'em ups where you score high combos to avoid losing your time. These are pretty fun, locking on and shooting feels responsive, Gamma controls fluidly, and his levels balance between challenge and difficulty well. Then we have the fucking cat. Big's fishing stages are fine. When you learn how to catch fast, it becomes mind-numbingly easy. I don't like these, but I don't hate them, so let's just move on to SA2. SA2 is a weird case because it technically has 6 characters, but we only have 3 playstyles: Sonic's speed stages, Knuckles hunting, and Gamma's mech stages. Sonic's levels are the same as ever, but they're more linear and split between him and newcomer Shadow. Knuckles' stages follow suit, being wide open treasure hunts for 3 pieces of the Master Emerald, but now they're shared between him and Rouge.
A pair of boobies that's attached to a bat.
Then we have the mech stages, which are basically the same thing as SA1's except there's no time limit and they're shared between Tails and Eggman. The whole thing with this game is that it's split between heroes and villains, good guys and bad guys, me and the IRS, and in terms of game design it does that pretty well. Each campaign feels separated and special in its own right. Another gimmick with this game is the rail grinding, which becomes a mainstay after this. Out of all its appearances though, this one is easily the best in my opinion. When you get on a rail, you tilt the stick in the direction of wherever the rail is going while pressing B to crouch and gaining speed. It's tricky to maneuver, but when you get it down, it's really fun. A shame we never see this level of depth again. The final gimmick with these two games is the fabled Chao Garden, debatably the most loved gimmick in the entire series and the one thing every single person wants to come back. So do I join the Chao Garden stands on this being a great inclusion? The Chao Garden oh, not again! I'm sorry, I really am, but I just do not like pet simulators. They're slow, they're boring, and I just don't have the patience for them. I never bothered with making my own Chao, and I don't care for their existence. Next. Oh, so, actually, I think the Chao Garden is my favorite part of Sonic. Please take me back, take me back, take me back! Sonic fucking Heroes. I'll eventually cover you in one big Mega Rose sub to get me to 1K so I can make it, so I'll pull my punches for now. Besides being donkey doo-doo, this game's main selling point is the amount of characters playable. Yes, instead of playing as one character, you have 12, split into 4 teams of 3. Sounds fun, right? Well, you see, this is Sonic Heroes, so fun's not allowed. Sure, the concept of playing as 3 characters at a time, switching between them for access to different playstyles is a very good one, but the 3 characters here are basically 3 halves of one pretty mid character. We have speed formation where you go fast and that's kinda it. I mean, you can make tornadoes and do a bootleg spin dash, so there's that. Then there's flight formation where you can soar. For 6 seconds with the height cap, this game doesn't like fun. Then you have power formation where you do shitty combos and glide without it carrying any momentum. This game sucks. You switch between them depending on the binary obstacle of the level, and it quite literally is never enjoyable. But we're just discussing Team Sonic here. What about the other Oh, they're just clones with slightly different attributes. The fundamentals of our society have failed us. I mean, I really don't know what I should say or add. The team mechanic just has so much potential, but like everything in Heroes, it's just not fun. On to the next game. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. If you search up Dead Horse, you'll probably find this game as the image, but I'm not here to tell you what we all know by now. Let's discuss this game's central gimmick being, well, Adventure 3. I know that's a hot take, but quite literally its goal was to do everything Adventure did but better and take advantage of next-gen hardware. Multiple characters, different campaigns with an overarching narrative, a new hedgehog, all with the promise to be the best Sonic game ever created. So it's crazy how it didn't do that. Yeah, in terms of concept, this game sounds fucking bonkers, man, but when brought to life, they gave Eggman metal nipples, like, come on. The characters control poorly, the story is convoluted and shit, I get sent to space, it just fails on almost every level. Unlike Heroes, though, it just had the potential to be good. PO6 proves that, but it just gets a D in practice. Now we come to the greatest Sonic game of all time, baby, it's time to glaze! Sonic Unleashed is awesome, man. If it was a person, it'd pull bitches like magnets. But the game might contain the most controversial gimmick of the entire Sonic series, the Werehog. Yes, this fluffy boy gets a lot of flack because people think he's dumb and his gameplay is bootleg God of War. But in my eyes, I'm sorry, man, he's just so cool. His gameplay is very different to what you expect in a Sonic game, but it's just so satisfying to level up and pull combos. Sure, the battle music gets on my nerves, but when you learn and practice the most effective way to get through hordes of enemies, it's euphoric. The platforming is also actually pretty fun. It's methodic and requires thinking to get through fast. Give him some time and keep an open mind, and the Werehog is a lot of fun. Beginning the meta era, we get into Sonic Colors, and its gimmick being the Wisps. I've discussed them in detail in my Colors video, which you should totally go check out after this one, but to keep it brief, I very much like them. They might hamper the flow in some ways, especially Cube, but they make up for it with opening up the level design by a ton. Playing without them only gives access to like a fourth of the stage in some cases, so when you go back for S-Ranks or Red Ring completion, you can experience so much you didn't think was there before. In short, it's just a very good gimmick. Next up is Gens, where its gimmick is that you travel through time with Sonic from the past in both 2D classic and 3D boost levels through Sonic's history. This is a really fun gimmick, seeing all the levels remade with modern graphics in two perspectives. Classic Sonic is very fun, but he's not accurate to the classics, with little rolling physics and a busted spin dash. Modern Sonic is a continuation of the boost formula from Unleashed, where you hold the button to gain speed throughout the level while dodging hazards and platforming. Great gimmick for an anniversary game. Then there's Lost World, which said consistently good gameplay. What's that? Who's he? Admittedly, I have a soft spot for Lost World. I think when it's fun, it's pretty good, but its biggest issue is that it's very inconsistent, ruining the pace. The gimmick here is parkour, an ingenious feature which is actually pulled off really well here. You see, you can run up or across walls keeping your speed. Problem is, the game very rarely lets you take advantage of this, causing it to be fairly underused. Good gimmick, the level design just doesn't let you have fun with it. Keeping it short, Mania's gimmick was to be an accurate 2D Sonic game and it succeeded. Phenomenal package. A game that's not phenomenal, however, is Forces, aka Straight Lines the video game. The marketing hyped this up as one big war where Eggman finally won, but in practice the war aspect feels shallow. Classic Sonic is back for some reason, but the best part of this game is the ability to make a customizable avatar and play through stages being a key part of the story. Amazing idea, Sega. DeviantArt will love this. In practice, it just ends up being a slower Sonic with a wisp gun. The game is fine, I guess, it just squanders its endless potential into something mediocre. But now we enter a new age with Sonic Frontiers, a personal favorite of mine. The whole sell of this game is that it's an open zone game. Vast islands where you can just roam around and have fun. And in execution, it delivers that fairly well with some issues. Controlling Sonic feels excellent, and having the islands be big, uninterrupted biomes you can play around in is just enjoyable. There are a lot of platforming challenges for collectibles and puzzles to solve to open up the map. But the platforming challenges are fairly automated, and in the third island nearly exclusively become 2D, and the puzzles are pretty easy with some fun ones here and there. Another gimmick is the combat. Around the islands will be enemies you can fight to level up or get collectibles. The combat is fun and flashy but not involved. I have fun with it, but it should have been better. There's also cyberspace, small boost stages you need to collect vault keys to progress through the game. These are, in my opinion, the weakest part of the entire package, recycling environments and even level design from previous games with stiff as hell controls. But even so, it still manages to be pretty fun. Speedrunning some levels is genuinely pretty enjoyable. This game isn't perfect, but when it's all said and done, it's a ton of fun and a great video game. Next is our final 2D game on our list, Sonic Superstars, with its gimmick being that it has 4-player multiplayer and each emerald gives you special powers to take advantage of. The latter I discussed in depth in my Superstars review, being that they're fun but inconsistent with usage, and the former, it's pretty buggy. I've only played in 2-player, but a consistent issue is how focus is taken away from one player depending on where each player is, so you randomly lose control and have to wait to get back into the game. It's also pretty glitchy. This was very clearly an afterthought, and if you want a consistent experience, play in single player. Our final game is also our latest, Sonic X Shadow Generations. Our focus will be on Shadow Gen since Sonic is fairly untouched. Shadow Gens is very similar to Sonic Gens in concept, going through stages from your past, but its biggest difference is in the Doom powers. Throughout this game you get multiple powers, ranging from Doom Spears where you get a 5 vertical lock-on shot, also very useful for speedrunning. Next is Doom Blast, where after attacking a Doom enemy you can kick them in a set path depending on where you angle it. It's a fun move though pretty basic. Then there's Doom Surf, a basic surfing ability which allows you to attack by quick stepping. Then Doom Morph, allowing you to scale purple walls with a pulley ability. This was fairly hard to learn, but it becomes pretty fun when you understand it. Finally, there's Doom Wings, the super form of this game making you invincible and giving you flight. Overall, these powers are very good, giving you fun abilities without the cost of flow. Hope we see more of these in the future. And yeah, that's all the gimmicks we see in the mainline Sonic series. They've had a vast history with inconsistent results, but with recent entries we might see an improvement in them, leading to fun additions to the Sonic formula in the future, but only time will tell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Hipster out.